I have a line of demo day merch coming out that like the designer just like finalized today that we're like gonna try to like get it done in like a week and a half. And if you like that, wait till you see the demo day stuff. We're trying to get a red boy in a red state here going hard here. So like we're doing our job for the November election. We don't usually do any kind of crazy introductions on this podcast. The podcast is called Next Door Neighbor, so we just like to talk to people that we like, people who do great things, and we talk to them as if they're our neighbor. So there's no script, there's no professionalism. We try to limit to 17 F-bombs. Perfect, right. We try to limit to 17 F-bombs. Sometimes we start with a Pledge of Allegiance, sometimes we don't, right? But what we don't do is we don't take a knee around here, okay? I know, we're just going to get a lot of things out of the way so we get canceled right away.
So many people angry.
I know. This is my goal. My goal is, as I look at like cancel culture, my goal is to like get in the mindset of like, how many things can we do in the very beginning so that we're like, it's too late to get canceled, you know what I mean? Like, or it's too early almost in a way. What's wrong with your arm? Oh, attaboy. What, Glock what? Glock 19?
43.
Oh, 43. Look, on the camera it looked bigger, you know what I mean? You get the camera ad, you know, gives you that.
Your shirt's a little tighter than what I'm used to.
Yeah. This is all an illusion. For anybody who doesn't know, has been living under a rock, hasn't heard of Jen Woodhouse. Is it Jen the Woodhouse Henderson, or is it it's Jennifer Henderson, but the Woodhouse. The Woodhouse is that a stage name, or what does that go? How does that go?
That is my maiden name.
That is the maiden name. Okay, it couldn't be more perfect though. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It couldn't be more. I always thought it's like a Mr. Bill, like it's like a name you kind of give in yourself, but it couldn't be more perfect. So
I'm born for this.
That's right.
Jen Woodhouse, aka Jennifer Henderson, builder, maker, YouTuber, blogger, social media influencer. Though I hate those words of influencer. Yeah. A mother, a spouse, a lover to Adam, who is the apple of my eye.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The way I look at it is God created Jen, and then He appointed me to oversee her, and I said she needs a mate, and that's where Adam comes in.
I appreciate that contribution that you played.
Yeah. You're the sheepdog to the Henderson family. Yeah. So I appreciate you guys coming on here. Jen, in a quick, like, unscripted kind of thing, like if you were to meet your neighbors and they were gonna say like, hey, what do you? So you guys recently moved to Kentucky, right? And you guys are building this incredible shop and tremendous, crazy, incredible makeovers to the house. And so you meet your next door neighbors, and they're like, hey, what do you do? And so how do you describe them and tell them what you do? So this is your intro for our podcast.
I just usually say I'm a stay-at-home mom.
You do not.
I do.
Yeah.
Peter,
Yeah.
Is it because it's easier, or is it because
it's so much easier? Because if I say, oh, you know, I blog, or you know, I build things and I put them on a website and teach people to build them, they just get very confused and they're like, okay, that's interesting. Like,
Well,
Adam is the one. He's really the one who explains everything, and then he's like, okay, go to jenwoodhouse.com, follow her on it. Like he's the cheerleader.
I'm her marketing guy.
He's my promoter.
And you clearly are, Adam, like one of the best marketing / wingman / agent that's out there, because like how I met you was through Jen at all these events, and you quickly became this appointed guy that like, hey man, I need to go talk to this brand. Can you go with me? And then somehow you'll get these natural conversations going. So what's your spiel? Here's your neighbors, you meet them, and you're gonna tell them exactly how big Jen is. What's your line?
Fan. I mean, like in all honesty, like I'm a legit fan of like her work and like the crazy degree of detail and energy and effort she puts into what she does, whether it's, you know, photography or design or whatever, building stuff. So you typically, when somebody asks her like, what do you do? And she's like, I'm a stay-at-home mom. And then she sees me take a deep breath, and
It's his favorite conversation.
She just walks off. She just walks off. And I'm like, So she typically she designs and builds furniture. She's a carpenter. She's a welder. Now we can say she's a tile layer. Or she used to be. I can say she used to be a tile layer. She laid tile one time.
Yeah, I was like done.
But no, I love telling the story, and people are like, "What? What does she do?" And then so she sells stuff. I'm like, no, it's not selling stuff. What she does is, if you can follow a recipe, then you should go to her site if you have a desire to make something, because she writes plans in a way that makes what she does accessible to you. And I say that not knowing anything about you, whether you know how to use a drill or can identify one on site or whatever. So that's generally
Interesting. Now, do you end up, and Jen, the same question goes for you, when you meet these people, because I know what it means. Like, people kind of have this like weird kind of feeling. They're like, wait, huh, what? And then you kind of go, it seems like what's frustrating about what we do is there's no name for it, though they call it content creating. It's more like a 7-minute explanation of exactly what you do. But you catch yourself being in a position where you're explaining them how it's monetized, right? Just to explain the legitimacy of it. Like brands, instead of putting a commercial on TV, they'll meet us, and because of our niche marketing of our community, and they'll pay us money to create this content that goes out for free, but they're paying us, and then there's ad revenue. Like, do you find yourself having to explain to them?
Yeah, sometimes, a lot of time, most people don't ask, but when they do ask, now wait, how does this work? And, you're not selling physical goods. And so I'll tell them, okay, well, for instance, I'll work with a brand like Home Depot, and I've built this audience where people will listen to me when I tell them, you need to buy this tool at Home Depot to do this project, And so I will create a project around a certain product or messaging. And so I guess I just kind of shorten it to like it's online advertising in a very organic way.
Interesting. And I always find myself getting a little too ahead of myself, where I have to start now explaining to them how money is being made in the industry. And then after I'm done with my spiel, I go home and I go, why did I just do that? Why did I just get myself in this position where I just had to like explain to them how bookkeeping is taking place in this thing? It's frustrating. Do you find yourself now, like, because Adam kind of prefaced with like, if you can follow a recipe, you can follow his instructions to build this thing. But from my perspective, it seems like you're almost, I don't want to say rebranding, but you're expanding to a place of like now, I mean, you're laying tile, you're knocking out walls, you're ripping out drywall. Do you find yourself kind of being kind of rebranded or kind of expanded in like your titling, I guess? You know what I mean?
No, not really, because it's kind of, DIY, do everything yourself.
Yeah.
It's always been that, but
that's DEY.
Do everything. Now, so, but with us being military, we've always rented houses. And so I've always felt kind of like one hand tied behind my back, because I can't really knock down walls in a rental home because the landlords frown upon that. And so now that we've bought our first house, it's like, oh, I could finally like stretch my wings and start really creating and so it's just like a blank canvas, and it's just been so fun.
Yeah. But in terms of like the brand that she's developed and grown, it is a natural progression from making something for yourself to now making this thing, this space.
Well, I mean, it's a lot like what you do is like, I've never done this. I've never laid tile before. I've never done drywall. Let's just figure it out and see what happens. And I'll share my experience.
Absolutely. What is it? And what's really cool watching, because I know your story about you guys had to, military family, and you're moving around every couple of years, and you're renting this home that you can't tear down this wall that you want to because the landlord won't let you. And now seeing this house that you're in, and it's really cool because what I'm seeing like on your social media is like this natural sense of like this like relief of like we're here, and we can just do whatever you want. Adam, I want to start with you. What do you like apart from content creation? Like what is being settled down in a longer term home that is yours, that you can do whatever the bleep you want with it? What are your feelings with that?
It's weird. So I can compare it maybe best talking about like seeing the changes in some of the stuff you've done in your house, from the closet that you turned into, I'm going to call it your bar.
Yeah. The butler's pantry bar thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, to taking what is really builder grade stuff and upgrading it so it's really,
Custom.
yeah, it's a little more custom. It's a little more home. It doesn't feel like, you know, the ready-made pop-up stuff. You go from IKEA to something that's a
Whatever,
little
you
higher,
don't know.
higher quality, you know, better material. It's the same thing, but made with better materials and designed a little more intelligently and just put together a little bit more warm with a little more warmth. So as far as for what it means for me is Jen has lots more projects and I pick up a lot more heavy things.
See, he's just kind of along for the ride because and very reluctantly a lot of times.
It depends on the scope of the project. Because like I say, I work a full-time career type job.
Yeah.
Where I leave the house about 5:30 every morning, and then I get home, you know, 5 or 6 o'clock at night. So, but when I get home and she's like, "Okay, let's go," I'm like,
"Yeah."
And you are. So sometimes we got to breathe.
Yeah, and Jen, so, and obviously, I'm only assuming, but like as a content creator, as a fellow content creator, I'm assuming, like you mentioned earlier, it's this blank canvas that you're like, I could now have this vision and we can accomplish. But is there anything more than that feeling that you're feeling from like owning a house? Now you have all this elbow room that you can have in your workshop, which looks huge and awesome. Like, what are the other feelings that kind of come with that territory?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, other than freedom, like.
Yeah.
And also being terrified, like this is really ours, and what if we mess up and flood the house? Like,
but you know what's interesting? You said you like, what if we mess up and flood our house? I was looking through one of my old videos, and this is the shower situation that I was building, my very first shower, and I remember catching myself on camera, and it came last minute, but I really truly hold fast to it, where I said, "What's the worst that can happen? You flood your house," right? Well, like the reality is like it's your house to flood, right? Like it's not like somebody else's house.
Yeah, we just learn how to. I mean, and I said this early on in the renovation when this whole place was like down to studs, and I was like, you know, it's not a problem if you can fix it with money. So it might just be an expensive mistake, but you know.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on these expensive mistakes? How do you view expensive mistakes?
Well, luckily we haven't really, you know, run into something that like, oh crap, we're going to have to hire a contractor to fix what we've done, you know, but this, oh gosh, this guest bathroom, that we just finished, I went over budget because I couldn't figure out, you know, the proper way to like hide these tile edges. And like, so every resource that I found, it was just gonna go over budget. So I was like, all right, well, we really don't have any choice. I felt like I've done all the research and it's just going to cost more. And I didn't, you know, expect it. So.
Yeah, the reason I asked that question is because I remember being asked by one of my buddies who he had like a ceiling light that was over his dining room kitchen in his first home, and obviously it wasn't centered with the dining room table like most houses, and he's like, "Can you come help me move this thing like 6 inches?" And so I came and I did the whole thing, and he's like, how'd you learn to do this? And I was like, well, I made enough mistakes on my house. Like, these are like, to me, like I started looking at these situations as like, I'm gonna screw something up, right? Because I know a little bit more about woodworking than I do about like home reno stuff. And so I was like, I've made enough mistakes. I've had enough frustrated evenings where I now, on my second home, or I fix that problem and now in my second room, I kind of almost anticipate some of the things that get to go wrong. Like right now, this vanity that I'm building, it's my second floating vanity, but one thing I didn't consider, because the wall faucet goes X amount of feet above the ground, which there's actually no code. You could just do it at whatever feels comfortable. But you also have the drain of the sink, right? And then on top of that, you have a vanity that is now lifted above the ground that you don't have as much room for the trap to go in, right? The curvature. And so now you have 3 things of elevation you have to consider. And it was frustrating because I had to rip the drywall out again. I had to redo the plumbing again. And to me, I was like, well, now if I ever do another floating vanity, before anything happens, I go, number 1, we got to consider these 3 elevations. And and then the vessel sink. The vessel sink has to be, you know, it's like another 5 inches on top versus below the cabinet. So to me, like, I think these mistakes, these expensive mistakes are like these priceless opportunities of education that like we didn't do any kind of apprenticeship, like we didn't do any foreman kind of work to follow a carpenter around. And so being put in these situations, it's like in the moment it sucks, but like the next day you're like, man, I'm carrying this knowledge.
Absolutely. I mean, and I think that was the same way too, because with this bathroom renovation and tiling and all that stuff, like you don't know what you don't know. You know what I mean? And so like as much research as I was trying to do, and YouTube University and Google and all of those things, you still don't have that foresight. Like, oh, what if I do this? Then is that going to cause a mistake later on that I don't know about and that I'm not seeing? But now that we've done it, obviously the next bathroom we can take all this stuff into account. And so we do have that knowledge and experience where before it was, not there.
How is the COVID situation, how is that affecting your guys' like day-to-day stuff? Like both Army, day-to-day, and then now work at home. And feel free to be loose, I don't care. But like just legitimately, like how is it? Because we both live in more of is Kentucky more of a conservative state?
Yeah.
It is. So they're a little bit more lenient, would you say? Because like that's what Idaho is. Like Idaho is like, we're doing jiu-jitsu, you know what I mean? Like.
Well, I mean, obviously Louisville is not, but where we are.
So for me in the Army, like I was for the first, I don't know, 3 months maybe, I was on telework where I came
So
home,
he was at home the whole 3 months.
and was just working from the kitchen table on my computer. And then we kind of went through this almost going back to normal, because the way it works is as soon as it's like when we stopped everything and one day they came in and like, hey, listen, we're going to go to 50% manning. The next day they came in and like, hey, listen, we're going to 25% manning. They came in the next day, literally, I mean, 3 days in a row. And my boss was like, hey, they're not accepting, they don't want to accept risk. Here's the deal. Go home. We'll telework. And then as we started to come back, there was this idea of, hey, we got to get back to 50%. And then everybody was very deliberate about, wait, let's don't rush back into it. So now for the last, I think, month plus, I've been going back to work. I'm essential.
Nice. I sure hope that the United States Army is essential.
Very important. I know people, with many leather-bound books. So my work day is back to just about normal, but there's only like 4 people in my office. So that for me, it's a lot back to normal, even though I'm carrying a heavier load because I don't have as many people showing up in the office to do stuff. So,
but I think that throughout those 3 months that you were home, you found that you're like, wow, most of this work that we've been doing, being present, can be done, remotely. And
there's a tremendous amount of efficiencies that we can, if we can truly capture lessons learned from the COVID-19 operating, what we call the operating environment. If we can really learn those lessons, it's that we can utilize technology that exists today in a way that the Army just kind of by culture hasn't, and that's leveraging things like what we're doing now. Leveraging some of the other online platforms that allow us to communicate, to pass information, to do that in a secure environment, to do that in a way that we're still able to get after all of what we do. Now, my unit is a unique unit in what we do, so not everybody's going to be able to do the same kind of stuff like that. But if we can really capture those lessons learned, like we'll gain a tremendous amount of efficiency.
Hi guys, long time no see.
You too.
I know. We were supposed to be in Idaho at some point this year.
Yes, we were going to come to a thing.
You were or you are?
They were.
Oh, we were. Remember we were.
This last winter, I think you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Plans.
Yeah.
Life.
And this whole COVID thing is so weird. So going back to Adam? So I got you. So Jen, how is COVID affecting you? Well, actually, it'll be a double loaded question. How is COVID affecting your line of work? And perhaps the second part might help answer that question a little bit, is include what Adam touched on is productivity. Like, what does productivity look like in the midst of that?
So really COVID has just really, I guess, affected travel. I mean, I was used to traveling at least once a month for work stuff. And this year have not traveled at all. But other than that, I mean, I work from home. I've been working from home, and we've homeschooled the kids for the past 3 years. So, our lives really didn't change much as far as that goes, other than not being able to see other people.
Jen didn't like leaving the house before COVID.
Right. I've been social distancing since the early 80s. So
The only part of her life that changed is her airline miles went down a little bit.
That's it, yeah. Darn.
You're so brave, Jen.
yeah, like I don't leave the house anyway. So in fact, when people ring the doorbell, I hide.
Yeah.
I do too. Except that we have a glass door now and they can see everything.
Yeah. Hey, if you want to cut a door, a glass in the front door, it's good searchable content, but you compromise not being able to go downstairs in your door.
Yeah, and now you have to hide extra because people can see through your door and your windows.
Yeah.
We see you. You're
Yeah. There's like a certain area in the couch, like when we're sitting in the living room couch, where you can like squeeze and
you can
like
see.
Yeah.
You can see like I see you guys.
You can like see ahead, and you're like, if somebody's at the door, they can see you.
Because we're in our living room is in the back of our house, so like you look through the hallway of the glass door, and you're like, hey, you guys are on the couch, like open the door, like
One of those panes of glass that like you run an electric current through it and it fogs.
well, yeah, that's exactly what I
like
need.
that.
That's exactly what I need.
I like it.
So, Jen, what are your neighbors saying? Like whenever you have to have like a film crew out with you, or you're recording by yourself, whatever it is, what do you think what's going on between like your neighbors and you? Do you feel like they're like what do they think of you?
Oh, well, at first they were like, what is going on? Well, our neighbor across the street was like, because we're doing all these changes and stuff. And he's like, now, how long are you guys going to be here again? And we're like, 3 years, maybe, 3 years, probably. And he's like, and you're doing this much to the house? And we're like, well,
Granted, that guy's lived in that house for 26 years.
Yeah, like everybody else on the street has been here for like 20-something years. So
you should mess with them. Be like, yeah, we're thinking about like raising our foundation like 6 inches. Just like what?
Just
because we can.
We've decided to put in a basement.
Adam's getting the truck lifted. I'm getting the house lifted.
But as far as the film stuff, yeah, like productivity has gone way up. I don't think I've ever been this busy with projects and things. Like it's almost like I am running on empty here. And and it's a great problem to have, which is amazing. I love having so much content, but with all of this stuff going on, like you feel awkward about releasing that content. You know what I mean? At least I do. I feel like there are bigger problems in the world. Nobody really cares that I redid my staircase. Like, you know what I mean? And so I don't want to be insensitive to that, but I also like, I'm sitting on so much content right now, and I just.
You really?
Yeah.
I remember, and I was like, man, she is so considerate of people. Like the very beginning of COVID, you had a video, and you're like, you went on social media like asking for permission to publish it. Like, do you guys think, would it be okay? Versus like guys like myself, I'm like, oh right, people are home, they're watching stuff. Let's release.
I don't care.
Yeah, although, which I don't know if you've seen this on your website or whatever, but like traffic has quadrupled, and it's been crazy because everybody's home.
I don't look at it as a negative thing of preying on the opportunity, because I also consume a lot of content of content creators, and specifically a lot of the content that I consume. Like I don't watch YouTubers, like really like
he's the worst.
Oh, you ever heard? I've never heard of him. First of all.
But also he's the worst.
Yeah. First of all, I've never heard of him. Second of all, he's the absolute worst. And anybody with the middle name of Evelyn should change it. That's first and foremost. And you can take that to the bank. But I truly don't really watch. I don't really have time. Like after the day of building, the last thing I want to do is watch other people build, right? So I'm like, I want to detach. And so the content that I actually consume on a large scale is comedy. Like I communicate through humor, so I love to follow other stand-up comedians. And what's interesting is like if you follow the right ones that really make you laugh and that you really enjoy, like you're like, I want to go to all their shows. They are content creators. Like they're maximizing the social media space. They're maximizing on like their 1 hour special that they sold to Netflix or Amazon, or nobody signed them and they just released it on YouTube. Like Andrew Schultz was Ben Ueda's buddy. Like it's the same metrics, really. It's just different demographics and different interests. But what I found myself is like being in a situation where like if they don't put out like my top 5 guys that I listen, if they don't put out YouTube video podcasts and podcasts, my day just got a little bit worse, right? Like, because I'm at home, I can't go hang out with my friends.
You look forward to it.
I look forward to it. I absolutely look forward to it, and so I think you should look at it. Like I'll have people message me about some of the videos. They're like, "Thank you." Like I'm running out of things to watch on YouTube, or on Netflix or whatever. So I think there's a large portion of it where you're kind of giving people a little bit of an escape, right? Because let's be honest, Fixer Upper's not putting out videos, right?
Where else are we gonna go?
That's true. I mean, the response that I got when I did poll my audience was like 99% was like, no, we want normalcy. We want to escape. We want, we don't want to hear about COVID or,
And I think too that like if you ever watch any of like Gary V's stuff, I would say it goes back to your motivation. What's that?
Never heard of him.
Never heard of it. I would say it goes back to your motivation. Who are you creating content for? If you're not creating content for yourself because you enjoy the process, then maybe you need to relook some of that and what content you're creating, because that's really, it should be you falling in love with your process. And if you're doing that, man, the audience will find you.
There's a sense of normalcy, Jen, like you said. It's these people. Normalcy. Sorry, you know how words are for me.
Guys.
It's foreign, yeah. I was her +1 in this country.
So, who are you bringing? Alexei Mazukin.
Yeah, Mikhailovich. Well, there's 14 characters and there's only six boxes for the middle name, so we'll just leave that one out.
You poor guy, you could never fill in those boxes.
No,
you have to like go over.
I think it goes up to like 16. And no, I think it goes up to like 14.
Because I couldn't even fill it in.
No, it's there's a lot of letters that are unnecessary.
Right there.
And you'll hear this from this foreigner who came to this country. Once you become a citizen, you get yourself an American name, all right?
Alex.
Yeah. My name is Alexei Mikhailovich Mazukin. No, you're Alex. You're Alex M. Mazukin. We'll give you that. You can buy a vowel.
When I lived in Korea, all the Koreans had American names. Like they would have their Korean name, but they would just have like their I'm Michael. What?
Yeah, my kid's brother.
Yeah,
What is his brother? Tommy?
Yeah, my brother Igor was Tommy in high school.
Good time.
Not to be racist or anything, but like that's like a nail salon. You walk in and you're like, "Oh, I'm Sue," and you're like, "I'm pretty sure it's not Sue. Like I'm pretty sure you got a different name, but it's Sue."
Well, they're making it easy on everybody else.
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't think Tommy is making it easier for anybody.
No, I mean everybody that's calling him Tommy.
Yeah. That's what he's making. Yeah, for sure. It's I think especially the fact that we're releasing all this content for free. Like I think it would be a little bit on the shitty side. Like if you're like, hey, listen, you wanna for $7 I'll release this YouTube video and only my Patreon account can see this video. That's just maximizing on the people who are like got nothing to watch.
People are, losing their jobs.
Yeah. The best thing you can do is release free content. That's the best thing you can do. Like, and I truly do feel this because I've heard a lot of my audience like say this. Like, they're like, I remember there was like a season where I didn't know exactly how to do ad placements too much, like on the YouTube platform. Like which ones you click, and like they'll say like no ads, some ads, mid-roll ads.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah, and then finally somebody's like, hey, you should start making videos that are past 10 minutes because then YouTube can give you more ads. And they're like, we'll watch him. And I go, okay. And so that's exactly how I got to the point of doing like 18-minute videos. Is like, because people are asking for it. They're like asking for stuff to watch. And you're like, all right, I guess if Jimmy Kimmel, because the thing is like all these people who had studio jobs, who had this high production jobs, like Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, everybody, and now they have to do it from their home. It looks so underproduced, but and I can't speak for you underproduced because your stuff is HD quality stuff. But like with me, I'm like I have three different cameras that are on a tripod that I move around the room, and I'm like I live in the underproduced world. Like this is
Wait. Irina, he doesn't make you like run cameras and take pictures and just hold this here. Just hold it.
Time. Just come here, babe. I know you have to go to work, but just hold his camera. You know what? He actually makes Jack do it now.
I do.
I wondered what your process was.
Yeah, it's because I would yell at her, be like, I need a macro shot. Give me a macro shot. And she's like, hey,
You know what? I don't know what that means.
I'm
I
like,
tried.
it's an iPhone. Where's that setting?
No.
she's like, I'm breastfeeding. I'm like, what does that mean? I don't.
No, I tried to like teach him how to use a camera, and that was just.
I'm like, look, it's like a sword, right? Just point this in at the other guy.
Nothing. It's horrible.
No?
That's all you do. You see the target, and you point it at the target.
She's like, I'm like, look.
And I'm like, you're
Look.
using an iPhone. How did you make it?
Just put it on manual focus,
Out
and then
of
I don't have to do
focus.
the other thing. She's like, manual focus, get out.
No.
Yeah.
Or,
Automatic. But see what I mean? He doesn't even know.
words are hard.
It's hard.
This is what I'm working with. That's why I have to hire it out. Okay.
Yeah.
Dude,
That's why I said higher.
I really envy the people who have like a camera guy, right? Because the camera guy is like, they're the ones that are thinking of angles. Like, and here you are, like here I'm trying to build, and I have to think of angles as well. And
Yeah, it's horrible.
So
It's
I will
the
tell
worst.
you 100%, like it's worth the dollars that you end up spending when you have people who are like, that's what they do. That's their passion for taking video is the same as like your passion for doing the design and seeing the thing and creating the stuff. Like they see what I'm like, it's right there. Everything's in it. She's like, do you not see the laundry basket behind it? And the toilet paper and everything, just like you got to clean that out. I'm like, but that's behind everything. It's not even. Oh,
Yeah, it's not really in the shot.
I did an ad read today, and for the video that's going to come out next week, and I had the box of the stuff that they sent me, and I was shooting the ad read in the kitchen, and I had the box like maybe like 2 feet like to the side of me, and then I got up, and then I did like the rest of the ad read from a different angle, and I was like, okay, let's just turn the camera just slightly so you can't see this box that's hiding under it. It's annoying. It's annoying having to think of like all these camera angles where you're like, I'm trying to figure out how to say the code on my house right now.
Right. Yeah. There's so much that we have. Like we're wearing so many hats, and it's a lot. It's a hard job.
What are your thoughts? So you've been hitting YouTube super hard recently.
I really wanted to do like at least like a video a month, but it's I don't know. It hasn't been
all the work that goes into producing a video that like meets the standard that she's comfortable with, like with her brand. It takes a whole lot of like synchronization and coordination of.
Well, also because I've been doing a lot of videos for Home Depot for their channel.
Yeah.
And it has just been like, so, I mean, when you say yes to one thing, you have to say no to another, right? And so kind of having to put my stuff on the back burner. But
well, I mean, I'm thinking, so we've shot video for the bathroom. We've shot video for the fireplace, the Home Depot kids stuff.
yeah, that's
thing,
like it's like a every month thing until January.
The paint thing, the one we
Paint thing. Okay.
Yeah, the swinging, dripping paint art.
I don't even remember.
You even watch your YouTube videos?
She's like, that was 17 videos ago.
Well,
I gotta dump this
Yeah,
stuff.
that was exactly. I have only this much headspace.
So, yeah, so I mean, like it's.
Yeah.
Jen, so do you prefer? So you're saying when you say yes to one thing, you have to say no to the other thing, and most of the time that other thing is like your own content. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about like saying yes to like a big brand like Home Depot and saying, yeah, I'll shoot something, and I'm the front and center person for your thing to live on your platform and whatever. How does it make you? What are your thought process about like putting your work on hold? Because I have this. I'll get a few a month of these production companies who will try to name drop of the TV shows that they worked on, and they go, hey, have you thought about? And in the very, very beginning of this whole thing, where like I remember somebody reached out to me from Making It, the NBC show, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll give it a try, see what that's all about. And then I saw the hoops that I had to jump through, and then I was like, and then obviously I didn't make the final cut, and then after that, I finally saw somebody that's in our space that got to go onto it and do well and succeed. And then I kind of look back and go, okay, so would that have been worth for me to put my content on hold? And for me personally, and I'd love to hear what do you think about it. But like for me personally, I would hear all these guys that are selling these TV shows, these stand-up comedians, right? Like whether the Food Network channel or whatever, they'll say, we love your personality, let's sign you to this production deal. They'll do this deal. The TV executives will think that they know what they're talking about because they saw your audience has already taken a liking to you, and they'll shoot all this stuff, and sometimes it doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, they just cut you off and saying, okay, we're just going to scrap this project. And yet now you wasted 6 months of your life that you're like, I could have produced content for my brand and be so far advanced in where I wanted to be. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I look at it this way. I'm still capturing the content, and I'm still doing the projects at my own pace. So whether I publish that now or later, I've come to be comfortable with, like, it can wait, it's fine. Like, we did the freaking workshop build. That was a huge undertaking. I've got a ton of content and video footage, photos, and all that stuff. And I haven't even blogged about it, but I can do it, in a few months, and it's still evergreen content. It's still, I don't feel like I've missed the boat. You know what I mean? Because it's still there. And whether I publish it today or next month, doesn't really affect, other than, okay, I could have been making, ad revenue for the past however long, you know what I mean? But I don't know.
It sounds like you're asking about opportunity costs, like opportunity cost in taking this opportunity versus doing what you're already doing. And I think that's what Jen's
and I think
talking
it
about.
is too part of it. Like, it's the paycheck. What?
Nothing. I just didn't realize I was not.
Oh, were you not done? I'm
No,
sorry.
no, not even remotely.
He had a spiel. I can tell his
That was his hook.
And you just
That was his hook. I wasn't remotely done. Jen, cue the teleprompter.
No, so
Continue.
it goes back to when you talk opportunity costs. That's what I think Jen's talking about, is like, taking the opportunities because you don't know which one of those things might be the roll of the dice that hits and you do win big. It does. The cost of doing that is not so much, because the reality is she is still capturing the other stuff, and it just becomes something that it maybe pushes something a little bit to the right. But she's still putting out enough content, that she stays relevant and she stays kind of, and what's the word, appealing to her own audience and to a new audience. So.
That's awesome. I remember, Jen, you and I were talking on the phone, and like I was just sharing some of the things that I've learned, like the lessons of doing this whole thing, and I've said like something about like you got to put out 3-4 videos a month kind of thing. And I think my mentality behind all that stuff was always like, I remember Gary Vee saying this, is like, you're one video away from that video popping like the rest of your channel off. And I every time somebody reaches out to me and they're like, hey, I would love to do be a YouTuber, like, what's your advice you give me? And I'm always like, obsess. You have to obsess about it. Like, you have to be psycho-driven about it, where you're like, one video. And the quality of life is never good, but that was always my driving force. Like, I never really looked at opportunity cost. Like, to me, it was always like, the opportunity cost for me was always like, I cannot sacrifice, like, what if I'm 9 videos away from my video making it big finally, which is gonna blow off the rest of my videos? But that was a romantic idea that I had in my mind that I didn't think worked until it really did. Like, one video did spark 5 of my other videos, and then it changed a whole trajectory for me. But we're all on different paths, and that's the crazy thing about it. Like, there's people out there who like I mean, we laugh about this, but like our buddy Brad, refurbishes a playground, pressure washes it, and put new pegs on it. Does a great job, multi-million views, blows up his channel, which, I mean, he's already successful in it, but like, you just never know what's going to take off,
What people are gonna like, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I don't know, that's fine, I guess.
I always tell Jen, put more me.
Oh yeah, you want more Adam? Yeah,
you would.
Yeah, Jen, I will give a portion of my views a month away for a little bit of Adam. So let's go back to a little bit more neighborly talk. Okay, so let's say you just met your neighbors. You don't know what they're like. They could be weird. They could be, like-minded individuals like yourself, easygoing.
You
What?
guys already talk about their neighbors? Do you like your neighbors?
We do.
Yeah.
You do?
They're all retirees, but they're
Great.
They're great.
Like,
Do they babysit your kids?
No.
yeah.
No, they don't babysit our kids, but our kids do go over their house all the time because they have a pool in the backyard and a grandson that comes over.
Yeah.
That's nice. So your neighbors, so let's say you meet some of your neighbors and they're like, hey, so a little bit thing about us is that we, what are your thoughts on aliens, right? So you realize your neighbors are conspiracy theory neighbors. Do you guys have any kind of conspiracy theories that you not necessarily believe in, but you kind of have fun learning more about and kind of experiencing, like seeing more of the background?
Say what?
Jen's really interested in flat Earth.
Heck yeah.
No.
That's what I'm talking about.
She's not.
His brother is a flat earther.
I got a brother who's a flat
Is
earther,
flat earther?
like legit, and he's a vegan. So
Wow, that's a double. If he's also a liberal and believes that 9/11 was a conspiracy thing, I think we'll have a full bingo.
Yeah. Across the board.
I think he is with the 9/11 conspiracy thing.
Okay.
But he's conservative.
He's not a CrossFitter because he doesn't like sweat or physical labor.
Okay.
But
So there's a little bit of a
So he's got some hope.
yeah.
saying, man,
He's
just saying.
confused, I think.
I don't know. Like I told him,
I don't know.
I told him one time, I'm like, listen, man, I don't think I can keep talking to you about this topic because I've been to school.
Sorry, I am educated.
That's the best. We're gonna make a soundbite of this. Jen, so what are your thoughts on the flat Earth thing? So is that your kind of go-to conspiracy thing that you like to kind of learn more about, or do you have another one?
Have you guys seen the documentary on it? What is it on Netflix?
Yeah, Netflix. There's two.
Is there really? We need to watch that.
You mean there's enough information there to make 2 documentaries?
Yeah, well,
Two.
yeah, well,
There's just one,
yeah,
too.
one's kind of like a biography, like an autobiography of this guy who like created this crazy flat earther who lives. He used to be like a stunt rider, like a semi-pro Evel Knievel, right?
Is that the one we watched?
Oh no, we didn't watch that one.
Oh.
And then he was making a rocket because he's doing all these stunts, and he was going to create this rocket that's going to shoot him into the atmosphere to take a picture and to prove the world that the Earth is actually flat, and it's not a sphere or anything like that. And obviously he dies, but
Can't prove anything now.
The thing is, the astronaut farmer is not true.
yeah. And then there's actually a legitimately good documentary on Netflix, and that's where like you see the entire, not entire, but a strong portion of the flat Earth conspiracy theory community getting together, sharing their stuff, explaining why they're buying these lasers that cost together to measure point A to point B on the Earth and to prove that there's no curve and all this crazy funky stuff. But you just see the community, and it's interesting.
I don't know.
I don't think I have any conspiracy theories, do I? What am I interested? I've been interested in nothing but just making things.
So I'll give you a few lists of some of the popular ones right now. There's the flat Earth, there's the flat Earth, the aliens, the lizard people, obviously 9/11, the JFK assassination.
Alex is huge on them.
Yeah. Well, not huge. There's certain ones I kind of like. What's some of the other ones? Well, there's what's up?
The big one now is the Tom Hanks is the leader of a
Cult, right? Or a child sex pedophilia?
Oh yeah, I've heard of that one.
Well, we just call that news around here.
News.
No, I think the only conspiracy theory I think that I have to ask questions about is anything to do with government, which is ironic considering what I do.
That is actually, I'm actually really glad that you mentioned that, because I see a lot of really convincing videos about like the was it Tower 7 that went down on 9/11, right? Or and then all this other government stuff. Then it makes me kind of go, okay, but then like it's I would love to see or hear more about the people who are actually working for the government and be like, hey, listen, like I see a little bit of that being truth. Like, so you have a little bit. Do you believe all government conspiracy theories or just some?
No, I don't believe all government conspiracy theories. There's some that I love talking about or getting into, just because I like the questions of what do you really think? Like, what's the reality of it? And when I think a lot of it goes back to kind of just a general, and I believe it to be healthy mistrust of anyone
Government authority.
anyone in power. Like, so, like I say, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. That mentality, our founding fathers were very deliberate about wanting to restrain power at the federal level and pushing power down to the states and empowering, protecting the individual. And I think there's a very strong heartbeat of that still runs through the majority of our country, even though it's not the fringe is always what we hear the loudest, but the majority of our country is largely centrist with, I think, a foundational set of values. And for me, it's protecting those values and the idea that, we have term limits for a president, but we don't have it for Congress and the Senate. And that seems counterproductive.
Okay, so follow-up question, and this is on terms of conspiracy theories. Illuminati, what do we think? Do you think there's an organized group of people who are the puppeteers?
Cabal?
I think it's the Pentaverate.
Yeah.
All right? It's the Queen, the Gettys, the Rothschilds, and the Colonel before he went tits up.
Is that the Colonel that the CIA head of psychiatric or psychological?
That was all a reference to a movie. So I Married an Axe Murderer. Go watch it.
Oh, okay.
Not grow up in the U.S. Okay.
Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of those.
Which movie was this again?
It's So I Married an Axe Murderer. It was like Mike Myers' first movie where he ends up marrying an axe murderer. It's hysterical.
I explained to her today about Red October.
No, I've seen Red October.
Oh yeah, what was your favorite part about
Red Dawn.
Oh, sorry, Red Dawn. Red Dawn.
Oh yeah.
It was something red. That's all I know.
Whatever.
I did not watch
pumpkin
any
spice
classics
latte,
growing
something.
up.
Alex, I know how old you are. Which Red Dawn are you talking about?
Well, she was talking the 2012. I'm talking
looking-
about that 1987 or 1988.
It's the correct one, but Chris Hemsworth was in the 2012 one, so I can.
Wait. Is Chris Hemsworth in the 2012 one?
We're watching it.
Oh, we're watching it. And I'm watching it without my shirt on. How about that?
What? Wait, is there another way?
Yeah, there isn't another way. That's the only way.
We call this date night around the house.
No shirt Wednesdays.
No shirt Wednesdays when the Hemsworth brothers are on.
Doesn't matter which one. We'll watch any of them.
Yeah. So do you guys have, before we start wrapping things up, do you guys have what have you guys been doing that's been giving you a sense of normalcy?
Normalcy.
See? So we have homeschool right now at home.
Yeah.
Normalcy around the house. Like, is there certain things you guys are doing, or do you feel like being? What it sounded like at the beginning of the podcast, you mentioned that you're more of like a homebody kind of people, or do you feel like where everything is normal around the house and it feels normal already?
Around the house, it's largely normal. I mean, we went through through that period of trying to figure out how are we supposed to panic.
Well, you buy toilet paper, haven't you followed anybody?
We
Jen built a shed for the toilet paper, so
no.
She shed.
I think that there's
shed
been
of toilet
so much change recently in our lives, with moving here, buying our first house and building and all of the projects that we've been taking on. Like, nothing is normal, but it's been good though. I mean, I think it's good, not normal.
But you're talking about routine and getting into things that make it feel normal. So you and I have talked about jiu-jitsu before. I would love to get back doing jiu-jitsu around here. The closest place is too far away. So I actually, with gyms being closed the way they are, Jen bought me a bike when we were in Texas to go ride with the kids. I got on the thing and was like, I do about 20 or 30 miles at a stretch now on my bike in the morning just to to stay healthy and do something hard and difficult. Because after that, my little Instagram, my little Instagram story that all 6 people saw, where I was talking about you and
Don't say that. It was great.
So...
go do something hard. Click. Ugh!
Yeah, I got it. I like that. I like that.
I-
Encourage the sweat.
I totally sprained my ankle like literally 3 seconds after I got close.
Yeah,
to
you had to crawl back to the truck.
The important part is you got the shot. That's one thing that's important to
You
us
got the
YouTubers.
story. Yeah.
That was my fourth take though. So
Are your guys' like restaurants and everything still closed, or are they open? What is your?
most are open.
Yeah,
Most
they
are
are.
open with like reduced seating, and
Yeah.
they keep you safe so that you wear a mask from the front door to the table.
And then you take your
Okay,
mask
it's
off.
here. Then you take it off.
COVID can't attack tables, apparently.
Yes, apparently.
COVID stays at your table.
Listen, at the end of this, only 99.87% of us are going to make it out of this. So we got to do the best we can. All right.
Do you repack your own ammo, Adam?
I don't, and the only reason I don't is because the equipment and time, with as much moving as we do, you can buy seriously like solid quality ammo for dirt cheap out there right now.
No, you used to be able to buy solid ammo dirt cheap, but right now there's no ammo around to be bought. That's why I'm asking this question.
Well, there may not be for other people, but
Oh, military reserve, right? You don't go shooting on a regular basis, like to just like or do you use the Army's ammunition?
oh God, no, the Army doesn't do that. It is illegal for me to carry a firearm onto post. There is no way that I can carry my gun onto my base when I go. If I got caught with that, my career's over and I'm going to jail.
So then, do you have then a work gun then, or is nobody strapped on base?
The only people who are carrying a firearm on a military installation, there's two authorized people. It is military police, which includes the DoD civilian police officers. And if you are a unit that is going to a range, you will go and you will draw your weapon from the armory. Another entity will go and pick up ammunition and deliver it to the range. There will be a range detail that hands you ammunition right before you walk onto the range. And you get what we call rodded off the range, where they actually will take a rod and run it down through the barrel. They don't technically do it anymore, but they'd run a rod all the way down through the barrel to make sure there's no ammo on it.
Wait, hold on a second. When you said running a rod through your barrel, we're still talking about guns, right?
Hopefully.
Because I'm thinking about enlisting. I'm a little bit old now, but it doesn't hurt to try. I'm sure we can find room for one more.
That's right, by God.
It's a new kind of army.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't have anything like that on post, and depending on the type of unit you're in and whether or not you actually have weapons assigned, all that stuff. So yeah, no, I shoot on my own when I do go shoot, and I've had a lot of ammunition for a long time.
Yeah, we in fact, when all this stuff was going down and the shelves were empty of like toilet paper and all the things, I remember we were sitting there on the couch down in the basement, and he's got, his huge gun safe and all this stuff. And I turned around and I'm like, I really feel very comfortable right now knowing that you have this arsenal right there in the back.
But bear in mind, we were dating. And one time when we were
yeah.
dating, she looks at me and she goes, "Now listen, like when we get married and start having kids, you're going to get rid of these guns, right?" And it went something like this: "We're going to have a talk."
This is not working out.
I have to go.
Well, we sat down and legitimately, she actually got her to talk to my mom some, because my mother had the same thing with my dad, and went through some of the conversation about, hey, look, education, and at the same time executing a little bit of like safety and making sure that things are secure and put away and unavailable. And
yeah, it was definitely, there's a fear there, but when you take that fear away with education, with knowledge, that's really the only way to do it.
It actually crosswalks very well with kind of the business and stuff. The first time that Jen went to one of the big maker conferences and taught a class, bringing one of the ladies from the class up to use a chop saw for the first time, you can see like there's fear.
Terrified, yeah.
And they have no idea what's about to happen, when the reality is like you've seen one happen before. You know what's going to happen. You just pull the trigger, move the thing, and it goes. But when they finally do that and they're like, oh, that's what this is, and that education piece takes place, the fear goes away, and it's the same thing.
Well, you still have to have a healthy fear of
that's a respect
of that. But yeah, the education is what sold me on. Okay, maybe maybe this is okay.
So what do you're a carrier, right? You used to have you used to carry a 357, right?
I used to carry a 357. Now I carry a 9mm. I carry a Springfield XD9 Mod 2. It's perfectly compatible how compact I want it. And then I have you know, a gun that I bought for her. It's more like a pocket carry. That's the Ruger LCP2 in the 380. And then I have biometric cases all over the house, more of like the scenarios. For us, it was more of a, and you can speak a little bit to this about this. Is like, what are your thoughts about the whole me? Because I carry it 99% of the time everywhere. Like,
Which I didn't know for a while.
Yeah.
He would never tell me he was carrying it. I'd
No.
like hug him and be like, "What's that on your back?"
Oh, like, that's all
And
me,
he'd be
baby.
like, I hope that's a gun.
That's a three.
Nah.
That's a 3 3/4 inch barrel. You got a rod? You want to throw it through it?
I want you to send me. I want you to text me like what holster. We talked this one time before, but you talked about because you appendix carry most of the time.
Yeah, I pack this carry. There's a company called Black Point Tactical, and they've been awesome about getting me case or holsters for all of my guns, and I like their stuff a lot because they have the one with the spare mag that's together in it. They made me this really awesome custom one for my my bear gun that goes straight across the chest. But no, I think what, from my understanding, with the majority of the people that because I'm very open with the Second Amendment on my social media profiles. I'm very open about the right that we have to protect ourselves and the need to be educated. And you know, I always get, for the most part, I weeded off the majority of the people who are, you know, just wanting to stir trouble. They just, you know, the whole I'm unsubscribing. But then once that little exodus happened, it's the amount of DMs that I get of people going, "Hey, I'm not for guns. I'm anti-guns. I never have been for them. But you look like a person that I would like to be carrying a gun," kind of thing. Like, you look like one of the people who are, because you train with it, you seem responsible with it. I see your dynamic with your family. You seem like a trusted person, and I just think that's part of the education process is like that. We just need to have more people that are equipped, aware, educated, and you know, unfortunately, like, and I do this both with my audience and with hers. Like, I'll be like, "Hey, look at this article." You know, old guy wakes up in the middle of the night, somebody's banging on the back door, couple of guys busted in, start wrestling with a guy, and the guy's wife, older gal, picks up his what was it? I think it was a judge, and shoots and kills the guy. Like these are legit, like these are real situations that happen, and God forbid you're caught with your pants down, that you have a gun and it's in your safe, or you have a gun and it's unloaded because you didn't buy bullets to it, or you have a gun and you didn't drill and you didn't practice scenarios about what does it feel like shooting it when adrenaline's pumping. Like, it all comes in with education.
Yeah. Jen.
That was the only way that I get on board.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, the reality is, so Jen is comfortable and good at shooting. She is not comfortable with carrying. She just doesn't. It's not something she's comfortable doing. So like, if we're going out somewhere, you know, I'm exceptionally comfortable carrying a gun. Not just because of what I do in the Army or the fact that, you know, I've been in the Army for 16 years. It's also part of like who I was before I joined the Army.
Way before.
Yeah, way before. But so like there's been times when I'll tell her, I'll be like, "Okay, so, you know, if something happens, your job is the kids, and I'm turning towards danger, and, you know, I'm gonna hand you something."
Yeah, you usually are double strapped, so you can throw one to me, and I'm like, "This is
our life.
Yeah.
This is it.
But Jen, I truly, going back to what you said, like, about being comfortable. You know, Jen, you said you're a great shot, but you're uncomfortable carrying. But Adam, you're a great shot and you're comfortable carrying. I am more uncomfortable not carrying. That's the thing. Like, because it's always that thing where it's like, if we all live to a very old age and we are never put in a situation where there's a school shooting, a church shooting, or a movie theater shooting, and we're never put in a situation where nobody breaks into our house, we live in the perfect utopia that it's a life well lived, and we just got really lucky. But heaven forbid, we're that one day that you always carry, but that's that one day you're like, I don't know, I'm wearing shorts and it's hot and I don't want something pressing against because I'm carrying appendix, or something hitting me behind. I'm gonna go in and out. Who cares? And that's the day that I'm like, I'm so fearful. Like literally, those are the days that I'm like, all right, listen. Oh crap, I forgot my gun. I was like in my truck. I was like, oh, okay, no, it's fine. I'll just go in. And I legitimately am paranoid. I'm like, okay, great. If something happens and I'm the guy that has it and I can't, then shoot.
I think that's where most people who are anti-gun come from, is that they think they give people the benefit of the doubt, right? But we're all broken. This world is freaking broken. You know that I was held up at gunpoint?
By Adam?
No,
No.
I mean,
Okay.
it's late, but we still got time.
It never hurts to ask.
Yeah.
No, I was in college and I was held up by gunpoint by two men. And it was the first time, luckily, obviously I lived through it, but it was the first time I think when it happened, it was just so incredible to me that somebody would come and violate this. And it was the first time I saw, yeah, people will and can and want to do you harm.
Yeah.
You know, most people don't, but there are some that do.
And there was,
so, no.
I think back to like,
But it's that unbelievable, like, nobody would really, would you want to hurt? You know what I mean? But that's ignorance.
well, if you remember after the Colorado movie theater shooting with the Batman movie, yeah, I remember we were in Virginia. I think we were in Virginia not long after that, and it was like the first time that we were going to go to the movies. This was, I think, Evie wasn't even born yet, and Jen, like, we go sit down in the movie theater, and Jen leans over to me, and it's like the first time in our married life together, she's like, you have something on you, right? And I gave her one of these. I'm like,
do you even know me?
yeah.
Girl, please.
But the reality is there was a part of her that recognized being vulnerable in a situation where bad people with bad intent aren't stopped by signs and rules and the social mores that we all are like, hey, listen, just be a decent human being to people and go live your life comfortably. Great. And something in the back of her head was like, hey, you know what? I really don't want a guy to come in here and want to copycat that thing and not have any kind of means to like
Protect yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, run away should not be my first line of defense.
Yeah, no. One of the great thing about living in a conservative state like Idaho is that there's more people carrying guns than there's people not carrying guns that you just never know about, right? Like, it's an open carry state, but it's so limited the amount of people actually open carry. I'm not a fan of open carry. I don't judge it, just because to me, I think I read into the psychological aspect of like, why do you feel like you need to show it? But it's like a trained fighter. Like, the trained fighters are the most humble people in the world, right? Like, the most nicest, the most least confrontational people in the world. But that's the nice feeling, is like that if you're in Albertsons and heaven forbid something happens, there's going to be more people there that actually caring to be able to stop a bad person. Because here's the reality amongst all of this that I feel like the media needs to be focusing on, but it doesn't. And I think it's with the agenda of like, this is going back to conspiracy theories, but go like of keeping the amending the Second Amendment is the fact that there are bad people in this world. There are truly bad people who prey on regular citizens. Like, the same way as there's wolves in the forest, there is wolves amongst people. And I think people are always go, no, there's not. But then we have the police. Yes, but you don't understand the time of response. You don't understand, like, it's not, it's like what's at stake for you, in that short period of time. And that's why I constantly repost of all these things. It's not to bring fear into people, but it's bring awareness. Be like, don't be so naive. Like, there are just, like, you walk into a movie theater, and that's a prime example. Like, that's a living example of, like, or that church shooting that happened. These are peaceful people who are just enjoying themselves, or at a house of worship, whatever, and then you're just coming into it, seizing opportunity. Our church had an outdoor service a couple of weeks ago, and we went to it, and we're sitting on the bleachers of this football stadium because you can't be inside, and they're doing 6 feet apart from everybody. It's weird. We gave it a try. But the whole time, now, was I packing? Yes, I was. But the whole time, like, I'm looking in the distance of, like, the fence lines of, like, the parking lots where a person would just pull up and come out with a large magazine capacity or multi-gun thing, and knowing that these are vulnerable people who can't protect themselves. Like, that's what I'm doing in that situation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think we probably see the world in largely the same way, and I think that's, it's kind of like it's kind of like any other thing of why do you have a jack in your car? Well, because I might have a flat tire. I'm not planning to have a flat tire, and I don't want to have a flat tire. But if I have a flat tire, having a spare tire and a jack will be profoundly useful.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
I like it. I'm probably the opposite. I'll see a guy walking with his hand in his jacket. I'm like, oh, is he cold?
Yeah.
He must be cold. Let me go get him a jacket.
We were at a restaurant when we first got married in Seattle because she moved in with me for a couple of months till I graduated.
I'm very naive.
And we're at a restaurant in Seattle, like a shady part of Seattle, and our waitress, she's like, "Hey guys, so the menu today, and I mean, it's like, oh, they got like postnasal drip or something." I go, no, baby girl, that's the devil's dandruff. That's devil's dandruff.
Give her some cough drops.
Have you been eating powdered donuts?
Yeah. I was like, no, baby.
I think what changed for me on this issue is I listened to too much true crime, and that has changed my mindset a lot.
Yeah,
I've also been educated. Like with you running drills, it's become more if this happens versus oh, it's never gonna happen.
Yeah.
More like, okay, it might, or hopefully it doesn't, but.
And part of the drills, and this is, and I'm sure because you're the one that kind of planted that seed in the back of my mind a while ago, is even if you don't have a gun in the house, or maybe you just got one, and you're listening to this, and if you're anti-gun and you already said we're not listening to the rest of this podcast, that's fine. We gave it a try. But what a lot of people, part of the education process is having a plan, right? Like it's one thing of having a plan of how to safely get your gun out, not make sure it doesn't get caught in your shirt, that you don't shoot yourself in your arm, blah, 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 as you're standing in the ATM. But more than that, having a plan for the family, we have these drills at the house where we're like, okay, so if something happens, what's the plan that you guys do? If there's a noise, I'm getting the gun right here. You take the kids, you go upstairs because it's a higher elevation. The only way up there is through the stairs. You get the gun out of our room. You get the boys in with you. This thing is already loaded. There's one in the chamber. You just point and squeeze. That's it. And just these simple things, because if you did draw that short end of the stick and you had to face some kind of situation like that, your body doesn't lock up. Your body doesn't go into shock and freeze. You go, I can't think of anything else, but for some reason I only know one thing to do right now, and that thing is what we practice, right? You can't think of, is the back door, I thought it was locked. No, you go, I don't know what to do except one thing that I remember that we just practiced. That's it,
It's muscle memory.
Have you ever seen, do you follow Matt Larson?
Yes.
So Matt Larson's the father of modern army combatives. He's working on a PhD. I think he's working on a book right now. I'm not sure if he's working on his PhD. But I read recently one of the things he had talked about, and he talked about literally the science of drilling and what you're actually doing. And what you're doing is you're passing motor memory into long-term memory from short-term memory. And he talks about the neural pathway and how we do it and why we do it and why doing stuff like stress inoculation shoots. So you do want to jack your heart rate. You do want to get adrenaline flowing, and the only way to do it, outside of a realistic, fear event is to have heavy exertion where you lose fine motor skills and you're left with gross motor skills. And now you're trying to bring yourself back into control. And the only way to do that stuff is it's not just shoot, don't shoot scenario stuff. It's also correcting malfunction. Correcting stoppages. What's the next step? This happens, then what's the next thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's important.
Knowledge is power, man. And I wish, man, and I really wish we lived closer, because we could form a well-armed militia, and we could have
between us and our kids.
We could.
So I'm thinking we do a very A-team style DIY renovation on a school bus.
Yeah.
And we make it into a Mad Max style. You're picking up what I'm putting down?
Listen, I got a call from Liberty Safe today that my safe showed up, so we could just put that right away onto the bus.
Motorcycles too. We put some spike strips on them.
Yeah. No, so that's my only. That's only because when doomsday happens, you can take the east part of the country. I'll take the right part of the country. You guys can be freedom land. We'll be freedom on the land.
We are Mr. and Mrs. Jen Woodhouse, and we would be generous neighbors.
All right, hey guys, thanks so much for coming in and hanging out with us. We wish you guys were our neighbors, and
Seriously though, yes.
yeah. Jen, where can they find you? Where would you want to direct some of these people?
JenWoodhouse.com.
YouTube.
House.com. Check her out on YouTube, Instagram, and all the other tubes out there. Love you guys. Have a great night.
See you guys.
Bye.